On this episode of the Procedurally Generated Show, Ethan becomes a Time Lord, Tony builds a tower, and Shannon drops the beat. We talk a little bit about the news of the week, and Shannon brings up the topic of games preservation for us to discuss. Well, howdy, everybody. Welcome to episode 6 of the Procedurally Generated Show. I'm your host, Tony, and joining me this week, I got Ethan.
Yeah.
You sound very enthusiastic for the show this week.
Oh, I could have been louder, but there's other people here. I didn't want them wondering why I'm yelling.
That might be a bad idea.
Yeah, very true.
You don't just want people running into the room saying, "Are you okay?" Or maybe you
I
do. I
doubt
don't
that's what
know.
they would do.
Why are you yelling?
Yeah.
There you go. And also joining us this week, Ethan, we got Shannon.
Speaking as someone who always records in a house with other people occupying rooms, sometimes when you yell very loud or laugh loudly, it can be disruptive,
That it
concerning.
can.
Other people asleep, you know.
Yeah.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true. I get funny looks probably once a week.
About the same time of the week every time, right?
Usually, yes. So, yeah,
Howdy,
you have
howdy. There he goes again. Everybody's rolling their eyes.
to. Everybody, they just follow along with the howdy because it doesn't change. Well, I guess it's not entirely true because we're not saying the same thing we were saying. I threw people off for a couple of weeks, but yeah. So there you go. We're the three guys that are going to be on the show this week. Ethan,
Yeah.
what have you been playing that you want to talk about?
I played a little game called Time Spinner.
What is this?
It is... Oh, how do I describe this? You know what, let me just...
Wibbly wobbly, timey wimey, all in a salad spinner.
I'm trying to remember how you described it to me. There was a little bit of it was like Metroid.
Time Spinner is a 2D Metroidvania platformer for PC, Mac OS X, and Linux. I think it's also on PS4 and maybe Xbox One, because Stuart's the one who gave me a copy. Because he backed
Okay.
it on Kickstarter, and he doesn't do PC games, so that's how I got that. At its heart, the game is a child of the great pixelated classics of the SNES and PS1 age, from the rich story worlds of Star Ocean, the expansive gothic castle exploration Castlevania, and the tight gameplay of Mega Man X. Time Center seeks to weave all these elements into one amazing game, and it's doing a pretty good job.
Really?
Yes. Uh, just looking at images on there, the very first thought I had was Castlevania.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just looking at the images.
Hmm.
Let's see. This was developed by Lunar Ray Games and published by Chucklefish.
Okay.
Uh,
Chucklefish are the same people that published Stardew, right?
Stardew Valley and Starbound, and there's another one that
They're that upcoming.
Risk of Rain. Wow.
There's another one they're getting ready to put out. War something, not Warframe. It's like Advance Wars, but it's fantasy, and I cannot
Pathway.
remember the title of it.
Pathway.
No,
It's in their upcoming releases.
I don't remember. I'll have to see if I can find it.
That's what. I've heard.
Wargroove is the game I was thinking of.
Wargroove. Okay. I'm really enjoying this game. It's got got a very awesome design. The It looks very much Super Nintendo. Uh, Sprite wise, looks Super Nintendo and plays just like a Castlevania game. Particularly like Symphony of the Night or some of the later ones after that that were copying the same style.
Hmm.
And it's even got the warp mechanics that you you would be used to when you're in the big castle. So it's like, oh, I've discovered this place. I can warp back and forth here now. There's
Nice.
also time travel, so you got that down. Apparently, you can mess with, or you can get information from the future or the present and take it back to the past or whatever. And
That
that,
doesn't create any kind of like paradoxes or anything.
I think you are the paradox, and you're making more to fix time.
Okay. Interesting.
I really don't know. I'm not very far in there. All
Okay.
I know is I'm in the present and I have access to the past. Eventually, I will probably have access to the future and change that up as I go.
You'll go to the Millennial Fair, you'll meet a talking frog.
Oh man. Oh man. It's like the best party member right there.
That's right.
I mean, I have a little dragon that's learning to talk that follows me around right now.
It's basically the same thing.
Yeah, but he's much more adorable. There will be fights. Your main form of attack on here, it's you use orbs that just kind of float around you at all times,
Okay.
and you can mix and match various types of orbs and even modify or augment them or something with another thing. Like they can fly around you and they'll have like wind blades or something on them, so they damage whatever gets close. Or you can give them something else where they're on fire. It's just kind of a mix and match deal.
Yeah. So, are you unlocking new types of skills that let you get to different parts of the environment, or is that all like time
Uh,
based?
Everything is super time based on here.
Okay.
Think like Prince of Persia, where you could like rewind time,
Hmm.
sort of, but instead of rewinding time, you just stop it all right away, and you can free roam around in the immediate area for a set amount of time before your
Oh,
sand
cool.
runs out. And so like you need to get to a platform overhead, and there's an enemy that's jumping at you. Just stop them mid jump and jump on their head, and then jump to the platform.
That's interesting.
And
That sounds really cool.
I have a tendency to forget I have time powers on here like that.
It's in the name of the game.
Very true. And I guess I get so into it, it's like, no, I'm just gonna, fight them head on here. Um, I I I think I agreed to play this on stream because that was how Stuart said I would get the copy, is if I only played it on
Okay.
stream.
Yeah.
So that will be played on and off whenever I stream.
Okay, cool.
What have you been playing, Shannon?
So,
Uh,
sorry.
Tony?
are we gonna do me now so that we can do Shannon's?
Oh, yeah, you know what? That's fair.
Another blank space for Tony to edit, or for Ethan to edit.
So that's all for me. What have you been playing, Tony?
I've been playing a game that it just came out on the Switch, and I've been eyeing this game for a long time on like the PS4, but I've never picked it up. It's called Tricky Towers. I remember earlier this year, I think I saw a video by some YouTuber that Andrew and Abby watched. It might have been Stampy, I don't remember. But the game is basically Tetris if physics were a thing. So,
Oh, I need to correct one little
uh,
thing real quick.
okay,
Time Spinners is PS4, PS Vita, 3DS. 3DS, weird.
3DS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that those are their stretch goals for that.
Okay.
So there is not Xbox. Sorry about that.
And is it out on those platforms right now?
I know it's out on PS4. I don't know Vita or 3DS.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check this game out. It sounds really cool.
Okay, sorry for the
So
interruption there. I just had to correct it.
no problem. Um, and so I guess with Tricky Towers, that's a simple explanation of what it is because you're not doing things like in Tetris where you're trying to, clear as much of the board as you can by putting things, into perfect lines and having them disappear. Um, Instead, it sort of flips that on its head, and there are three different modes that you can play. And you can play these either single player or multiplayer. The first one is called Race, where if you're playing it in single player, you're trying to get to a specific point before time runs out. You usually have like a minute or a minute and a half, something like that. Um, and so there'll be this like finish line a pretty decent ways up the screen from where the blocks would fall and land, and you try to stack the blocks up as fast as you can to either beat the person you're playing against if you're in multiplayer, or get to that finish line before time runs out in single player. It has all of the blocks that you would expect in like Tetris. So there's no other blocks. It is all just the blocks from Tetris. Uh, Another mode is called Puzzle, where there will be this laser on the screen, and then it's got this play field that it wants you to perfectly fill up with the blocks that it gives you. If you touch the laser before you've used all the blocks, you fail the level.
Oh no.
And so that's what happens in single player. If you're playing multiplayer, what you do is you try to put as many blocks as you can in that space. Once your blocks hit the laser, you're done. And then once both players, or all four players, because I think it's up to four players, once all of the players have hit that laser, it counts the number of blocks that you've put in the play area. The person with the most blocks wins that mode. And then there's another one that is just survival, I think is what they call it. And it gives you 3 hearts. And if any of your blocks fall off of the play field, then you lose a heart. And once you've lost 3 hearts, it's game over. So it's a really neat sort of twist on the Tetris sort of playing. I have a real problem of getting into that Tetris mindset where I'm trying to fill everything perfectly, and that's not always necessarily what you have to do, especially in like the race mode or whatever, because if you're playing against another person who knows what they're doing, they can really just kind of make this super thin stack really quickly while you're trying to, make a nice stable base for all of your blocks to fall onto. Because physics is a thing, and so if you don't fit the blocks neatly together, they can lean, or they could fall off completely off the play area.
Yeah,
There
factor in that
are
wind speed, man.
well, there's no wind, so you thankfully don't have to factor that in. Um, but you play as these wizards, these little floating wizards that they float on clouds, and there are also these magical powers that you can get as you're playing. And so it'll do things like you can cast a vine onto one of the blocks that's falling, and once you set it in place, it will create this sort of viney area that connects all of the blocks around it together, so that if one of them falls, they're all going to fall, but it makes it really hard for that group of blocks to fall off if they've been, packed in there nicely. But there are these lightning powers that you can use to get rid of a block. So if you've put a block in and you realize, I really shouldn't have put that there, you can cast your lightning spell and it will remove the last block that you placed. But then there are also spells that you can cast on your opponents. So it can be things like making giant blocks. So you'll get instead of having a regular sized block, you'll get one that's like 4 times bigger than all of the other blocks around it. So it can be really hard to place those in a neat, proper place, and it makes it difficult for them to have a stable tower that they're building.
Seems like it, yeah.
It's an incredibly fun game. If you're playing in single player, there are 2 different ways that you can play. You can either play just sort of an endless mode where If you're playing the survival, you just build the tower as high as you can until you've lost a set number of lives. Or the puzzle mode, you can do like things like I told you, where you fill in a specific area. Or it has these sort of quick challenges that are, if you've played any kind of mobile game, you know kind of what they are. They're very small sort of things. So it'll be like race against this opponent and you have a little bit of a head start, but they're really good at placing blocks. It'll be very small little puzzles where you have to place 5 or 6 blocks into this perfect little area. And they get progressively harder as you go. So there's a lot of content in the game, whether you're playing by yourself or you're playing with other people. It does have an online mode. I haven't had a chance to test that out yet this week. I think the game came out on Thursday, and I have not had a chance to play online with anybody. But if you're looking for a fun little Tetris-style puzzle game, I'd highly recommend anybody check it out because it's really fun. And the characters are all they have these super exaggerated expressions. They're really cute sort of wizards. And there's different types of blocks that you can do. And so right now, I'm using a Halloween themed set of blocks because it seems appropriate for the month of October. And so the blocks will have pumpkin faces, and there'll be bats that are flying around and things like that. I know there are also a Christmas themed set of blocks that are available. There is some downloadable content that gives you access to different characters or block types. I think the character packs are $2 each. Maybe they're $3. I can't remember exactly. But one of them is a set of indie game characters. So there's 4 or 5 different characters from other indie games. I can't remember any of them
Important
off the top of my
question.
head. What?
Is Shovel Knight one of them?
I don't think so. That's actually who I was looking for when I went to the eShop to check out which characters were on there.
Octodad is there.
Octodad is one of them. I do remember seeing him.
There's that. I see another one. I don't know the game he's from, but I've seen him before. Just stay out of that one.
Because it seems like Shovel Knight is putting his face in every game he possibly can.
Well,
And
he
so
would just be digging
expected
through them all, because that's what he does.
that is true. I expected to see him as one of the playable characters, but he's not. There's another pack that is like your spirit animals. It's called Spirit Animals, and so it's like there's like a fox. I think there's a unicorn character or something like that. I don't remember what they all are, but that there's 4 characters in that, and then there are about half a dozen different block sets that are each $1. There's a galaxy block set that makes all the blocks look like outer space. There's another one where everything is like super glowy, things like that. So definitely check it out if you're interested in that style of game, because I'm having a ton of fun with it. Andrew has been playing it with me. I think Jake played a couple of rounds with me before we recorded the show. So if you're watching the YouTube version of this, any of the multiplayer matches are me and Jake playing against each other.
It looks adorable.
It is really adorable, and it's really, really fun. It's pretty cheap too. I don't think it's terribly expensive. And if anybody does get it and you want to play online, let me know. I will be more than happy to play this reverse Tetris with you online. But that is it for me. Shannon, what have you been playing this week?
So, because I don't think it would be fair to bring up Forza again, I am going to discuss this other thing that I have been on and off with for, well, I can't really say on and off, more obsessed with for almost a full year at this point.
You have been deep into this game.
Yeah, this game is called Drop Mix. And if you guys haven't heard of it, Drop Mix is a music mixing card game made by Harmonix and put out by Hasbro. So it uses this NFC Bluetooth board that has 5 little pads on it where you can place cards that are different stems of music tracks. So you may have uh, Call Me Maybe,
Okay.
and you'll have the vocals, you'll have the lead guitar, and you'll have the drum line, and you'll have I don't think there's bass guitar for that song. I think it's actually a keyboard is the other instrument. Um, this game can be played in what they call freestyle mode, which is where you can take. At this point, there's something in the neighborhood of like 400 different cards individual out across the first season that they did. The game has been out since September of last year, 2017. Um, season 2 starts coming out in, I think, 2 weeks. I think by the end of October, we will see Energy and Flora, which are the two playlists for the for the second season coming out from Amazon and the Hasbro Music Shop. Mostly because this game has lost its brick and mortar representation from everywhere.
Oh
Oh
no.
no.
So, yeah, this is a game that's kind of hard to sell. Like, plastic instruments aren't really a thing anymore. This was a hard buy-in because when it was full price around Christmas of last year, it was $100. I mean, it was $100 for this plastic board that there's a lot of cool technology in it. These cards each have an NFC chip in them, like the Animal Crossing amiibo cards, and that NFC chip communicates with the board, which then through Bluetooth interfaces with whatever iOS or Android device. So it's compatible with almost all iPhones and iPads, and then a certain operating system of Android and up. You can also get it to work on the Fire tablet, which is what I use primarily for this game, just because I wanted a bigger screen and I didn't want to have to drop the crazy money on an iPad. But basically, you can make your own music with all of these different stems. You can mix up anything. If you're doing freestyle mode, you can even drop 5 vocal tracks and listen to the mayhem, because
Wow.
it'll just find a way to mash them all together, whether it sounds good or not. uh, Good 85% of the time it does a really good job at making it sound good. If
Yeah.
it doesn't sound good, you can change the pitch, you can change the BPM, you can hit the what's called the drop mix button on the board, and it'll try its best. The game will try its best to make it sound good. But that's just freestyle. That's mostly what I do with this. Is I will sit down and fool with the music and make these playlists, and you can save them and export them as videos or drop them on Twitter. Or mostly what I focus on is the Reddit group around this, and they'll do weekly challenges, and everybody puts up their songs that they've made within certain parameters. So people say, this week make a chill song with this one playlist, or and then they'll take votes in the Reddit community. So it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I really, really wish I had had more time to mess around with this when you brought it to town a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, this is a game that's hard to get people into. I mean, even I at this point I have 2 complete sets of every card that has been put out so far. I have a handful of boards, and something else that I'll bring up in a little bit. But even though I brought everything over, it was hard to get everybody to play with it at Will's, because it requires there's a learning curve.
Yeah.
Unless you're going to do freestyle, the competitive game that is built into this, because there is a 1v1 mode called Clash, where you can essentially build your own deck, and these cards have their own, outside of just being that particular stem of that particular song, they also have different abilities in the cards. Each card has a point value, and it's a race between the players to earn 21 points with your deck of cards. You basically earn points by fulfilling requests. So if there's an open slot on the board and there's no drum track, if you drop a drum track on that open slot, you'll earn a point for that drum track. Or there's also some other what they call effects cards where you may earn an extra point for every synth card in play. So if it's if it's a stem that is like a turntable or somebody playing a piano or synthesizer effects, you may earn an extra point for each one of those that's filling a slot on the board. So, and then you go back and forth turn by turn, trying to knock your opponent's cards off of the board by either using the drop mix button to spin a wheel and kick their point value cards off of the board, or by placing your higher value card in whatever that slot is. So if they have a point value 1 vocal track, you can lay a point value 2 or 3 over top of it and steal that point from the opponent. So then there's also party mode, which is 2v2, drop in, drop out. Each one of these playlists is 15 cards total. So you can just pick up one of these 15 card playlists, jump in as party mode, and continue to play for a side. And that's usually pretty cool. They also, with Season 2, added a puzzle mode, which is kind of like endless Tetris, except you are the line at the bottom and you clear the line by fulfilling those particular requests. So you may have a puzzle shape coming towards you that fills up 2 slots, and it wants you to drop 2 particular instruments in those 2 slots that are valued at a certain point. So you're basically, it's like Solitaire meets Tetris meets music game. Pretty cool.
It sounds really fun.
Anybody have any questions about drop mix? So the board. So I said it was a hard sell at $100, but there's a lot of technology. It's Bluetooth compatible with almost everything, and the NFC. It's got these NFC pads all across it. These 5 NFC pads that are strong and intelligent enough to read. If you don't sleeve the cards, so if you don't put the cards in plastic sleeves, it'll read something like 15 to 20 cards stacked on the pile, and it'll know what order they're stacked in. I put most of my cards in these little clear plastic card protector sleeves so they don't get jacked up. And I can usually get it to read to about 7 to 10 cards.
That's still pretty good.
Which is, yeah, it's pretty good, and it works for Clash. The only reason I could see needing Clash, which is 1v1, like the only reason I could see it needing to be able to read so much more is in party mode, because you have way more cards in play for that kind of a setting, and not a lot of cards being knocked off. But the reason it's reading so high is because it knows that if I've knocked my opponent's card off, they pull their card off, and my card is below it, it'll go back to reading my card. Like, it knows what order stuff is placed in. It also does a very good job at, like, if you one of the cool things about the competitive game is that you can always take your turn back. Like, if you can take an action back within your turn. So if you set something down and then realize, oh, I shouldn't have done that, well, you haven't passed your turn yet. You can go back and pick it up, and the game is the board and the software knows exactly what was there before. It'll undo whatever point value you may have earned from it, and it'll put, it'll basically just, it's like you hit rewind for a second, and it knows where to go back to, what music to put back into it. If you manage to change the beat in the song by changing out that card, it jumps right back to where it was before, and it's like it never happened. It's really cool.
Cool. The biggest question is, can you use this to just be the world's nerdiest DJ?
Yes and no. So the tracks are pretty various, but you are kind of nailed down to this specific list of, it's I would say probably about 200 songs, but it spans a pretty wide genre. I mean, you've got music from like pop, hip hop, rap, R&B, rock, dance, electronic, country, and then there's even some like the Doctor Who theme, the woo, that
Nice.
synth track is one of the bonus cards. Because this is a partnership with this is part of my love hate relationship with Dropmix, but because they partnered with Hasbro, they have been taking all of these Hasbro licenses and making those songs part of the game. So they made a Transformers drop mix card that was a promo, and it's got the Transformers theme song. They did one
course.
for Power Rangers. They did one for Pyre, which is a video game that I've never played, that I've heard of, but I've never played. And they also did one for G.I. Joe. I would love to see them do it for Ninja Turtles, but I really don't want to buy those cards on eBay because that's the only way, because all of these cool promotional cards have only been at these big PAX or Comic-Con or whatever, but I'd probably throw money to continue to add to the collection.
I bet you would. I bet you would.
Yeah, I mean that's drop mix. I'm very concerned about the longevity of this game. Like right now, as far as season 2 goes, they have announced 4 playlists, but they've lost all of their retail space. Originally last year, you were able to buy this in Toys R Us. God rest Toys R Us. You were able to buy it at the what GameStop calls 50/50 stores, which are like the ones that you walk into and you might find board games and
Yeah.
collectibles. And I mean, nowadays that's almost every store, but this time last year there was a handful of select stores that had that wide floor space, and it was a side of the store that was dedicated to this kind of weird stuff.
Yeah.
Then Best Buy
I've
had
seen
it,
it at I've seen it at Target as
and
well.
Target was their main supporter for retail space
Yeah.
because it was in every Target nationwide. All of the other stores that I listed, it was broken up based on some specific metric that the stores chose for representation. Target, every single store had it. So, the 4 packs that, or the 4 playlist packs that they have announced for the beginning of season 2 are Energy, which is a dance electronic. Fantastic, which I don't know what that is yet. Flora, which I'm not sure what that one is yet, and Instinct. The Energy and Flora are the first 2 that are coming out. Those pre-orders are live right now. If you go to the Dropmix website, you can sign up for they do like it's called the Dropmix Insider. They'll put information every week. I seem to get an email from them. They're doing live streams on Twitch with the Harmonix team. Usually it's people within the Harmonix team every week just getting together to battle each other, and they use that as a cool way to show updates that happen in the game, because it is an iOS game, a mobile game that's getting updates. It seems like at least once a month there's either a performance improvement or a feature that's been added, or more recently they added all of these playlist packs into things that you can view and look at, so you can see what the songs are. I don't know. They're really trying to focus in on the community that's embraced it, and they're still trying to make it available. And Amazon is embracing that by not letting it go to the wayside. As much as I despise Amazon for a number of reasons, it's nice to know that they are still stocking it, and I don't have to order it from the Hasbro toy store, which is overpriced on everything.
Yeah.
In the subject of Dropmix getting removed from stores, this kind of leads me down the road of what I wanted our discussion topic to be, which is video game preservation. Because Target removed. Target was one of the main stores that had these really beautiful drop mix demo units that had a like a 10-inch LCD screen, this big beautiful LED multicolored. Like, one of the most amazing things about drop mix is the art and the colors and how vibrant and loud it is visually, as well as what you hear when you're playing the game.
Yeah.
They made this really, really pretty shelf display demo unit that you could walk up to. You could understand what the game was because it was motion activated. So you walked by and it said, "Welcome to Drop Mix, the brand new music mixing game," and it had its whole thing to get you over to the machine.
Yeah.
And then there were cards on strings or plastic hang tags that you then got to place onto this board and watch the songs mix together right in front of your face. I walked into one of my local Targets and they were getting rid of them, and I walked away with one at one store in Memphis and then walked away with a second one this week in Arkansas.
Oh, man.
So I've got 2 of these demo units. I have no idea what I'm going to do with them outside of I don't want them to go in the garbage because they're really pretty, and it seems stupid that it should just end up in the trash.
Yeah. It really is a shame that they're doing things like that. I did mess around with one of these demo units once. It got me interested in the game, but I knew there was no way I was going to be able to put the kind of money into the game that you were really going to need to get the most out of it.
Well, the beauty of that at this point is it's cheap everywhere, because every Target that I've walked into, the cards, if stores still have them left, this stuff is 50 to 70% on clearance. I bought one of those drop mix boards yesterday, as of this recording. I bought one yesterday in Jackson, Tennessee at a Target on clearance for $18.
Nice.
Like, this
Nice.
stuff has gotten so cheap. They're trying to get it out of the stores.
Yeah. It's the same thing with like the Lego game and the Skylanders stuff and all of that, where if they're still on the shelves, they're dirt cheap. If I didn't own it already, there was 2 copies of Lego Dimensions for Wii U in Walmart this week that I saw, and they were $12 each for the starter set.
Yeah, that's crazy. And one of the cool things I will say to our listeners out there for Lego Dimensions, just because you find a version that says Wii U, if you haven't bought it and you had any interest in it, buy it, because the disc at GameStop is like $5, and that board is the
it works
NFC
for everything.
Board, it's console agnostic. It plugs into anything.
Yeah.
So just a hot tip for anybody, because I've seen the same thing, the Wii U version and the Xbox 360 version and the PS3 version, they're all hovering right around $10 everywhere.
Yeah, and that game is really good, and it's the one of those Toys to Life games I thought of any of them that could survive, that would have been the one that would have survived the longest, because it's tied in with Lego, so it works with all the Lego toys you probably have, and they had so many properties they could have added to it for a long time.
I think it just fell, in the same way of Drop Mix and Rock Band and Guitar Hero and Skylanders. It just takes up too much space at retail, and they don't want to leave it there. They'd rather turn that 4 or 8 foot section into a gift card hanger that they don't have to go up to and merchandise every week. They don't have to go up to and stock. They just leave it alone and let the digital stuff sell itself.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what happened to the 4 feet of Lego Dimensions at my Walmart. It's now a 4 foot hanger for video game gift cards. Like, you can buy a hang tag gift card for Cuphead or just, it's silly.
Yeah, we still have Lego Dimensions on the shelves at our Walmart, but all of the sets are down to $7 or $8 or $9 for anything that you want on there. So they're desperately trying to get rid of it, but they still have so much they don't want to just take it off the shelves.
Yeah. I mean, my concerns when I bring up video game preservation is I know that the amount of people in the world who are going to care about and appreciate drop mix as much as I have to want to actually get these silly demo units that are probably not going to serve any other purpose than look really cool and keep them. And on the other side of that, if I knew for a fact that there was a museum that would do something polite with it and not throw it in the garbage, or like a way for this to be preserved for some kid who hasn't heard of it, who will see it one day and go, man, I want to find that stuff, and give them a reason to look for it on eBay 10 years from now. I want there to be a system in place where I can, something like that can get donated, or something like that can live on.
Yeah, I mean, there are a few places that are trying. There hasn't been, I think, one of those sort of big name central places for video game preservation yet. There's a bunch of little ones that are popping up, but nothing, we don't have that, like, and it's a bit crazy, but like that Smithsonian of video games.
Yeah.
Which is sort of what we would need, I think, for anybody to be able to preserve all of this stuff for the rest of time.
Yeah. I mean, because it's even down to like, and I know I'm caring about some silly promotional thing that sat on a shelf, but I sit and I wonder to myself, this is the thing that sold me on the idea. This got me interested, and then finding it for so at such a good price, and finding it so readily available. And I mean, it sucked me in close to a year ago. I wonder how many other people did these 2 demo units influence in the same direction, and how many people were positively and outrageously annoyed by how aggressive it got your attention. Because it was loud.
It was. It absolutely was.
For what it's worth, I did take one of these apart and found some interesting things about it. First of all, the tablet is non-branded, and it is hardwired, so it doesn't have an internal battery. It is all connected to a little power strip on the inside, which the power strip is then what goes out to the wall. The DropMix board that's included with this is also hardlined on the underside of it with the battery compartment. There is a AC power cord and a USB connector that then plugs into this tablet. So the first thing that came to mind for me with that was, I would love to find a way to emulate Android on a computer, then push it up to a big screen TV, and then have one of these hardlined tablets, DropMix boards, to then do party mode at like a convention or something. That was my first thought. But I have no idea how to program or run any sort of line like that. So if anybody out there is interested, shoot me an email. And lost my train of thought. The speaker that's on the inside is just one of those little Bluetooth speakers that has an auxiliary cable plugged into the bottom of the tablet. So like it's really cool to see the thought that went into making this. Like somebody had to put time and effort into designing it.
Yeah. But it sounds like they did a fantastic job. But yeah, I mean, the idea of preserving video games for all times is something that I don't think people thought of back in the 70s, the 80s, when video games were just getting started. But now we're definitely seeing that push for everything to be saved, whether it's through emulation, through finding the actual hardware for some of that stuff. That's getting harder and harder and harder.
And then what's making it worse is the digital distribution of a lot of this stuff. I mean, I really want, when my son is old enough to actually play and appreciate it, I want my son to be able to play games like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, and it
Mm-hmm.
means something to him like it meant something to me when I was, it's been almost 10 years at this point since that game came out. But it got delisted 5 years ago. There's been no effort to make it backwards compatible because it was a licensing nightmare between Ubisoft, Anamanaguchi, Brian Lee O'Malley, Oni Press, and Universal Studios.
Yeah.
These crazy miracle games that happen and disappear. Like there's a handful of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games that just probably will never see the light of day. Out of the Shadows was digital only, and I think it's gone.
I think
Man.
so, yeah.
Yeah,
It
I never,
stinks, and this is the future we live in.
yeah, I never even got to try that last piece of DLC for Scott Pilgrim. The
Yeah. And you're going to see people putting, systems on eBay and specifically calling out, this is a Xbox 360 with a copy of Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Or didn't we see stuff like that right after PT
Yeah.
got pulled?
Yeah.
So
I could I could send you a link right now for an Xbox 360 with Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the game, for $75 right now. Oh, it's not even a system; it's just a hard drive, an Xbox
Wow.
360 hard drive with the game installed on it.
But you have to have access to that Xbox gamer tag to be able to play that.
I'm sure that's part of the deal.
So, yeah. So, digital distribution is both a blessing and a curse for video games, I think, because it makes it so easy to get your game out to anybody that wants to play it. But at the same time, we're seeing stuff like with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games and Scott Pilgrim, where if something in a deal goes bad or a license expires, it just disappears forever, and you're never going to see that stuff back again. And those are the kinds of things we have to be able to preserve in some form or another. So, we don't know who's going to be that person that finally brings video game preservation to the forefront, makes a big deal out of it, and makes it something that the general public is going to be interested in. I know it's going to be something similar to like with Star Wars, where I don't know if you guys know, and this is I guess an odd sort of thing, but it's something if Star Wars fans know. Out in California, there's a guy that started basically trying to find anything and everything that had a Star Wars logo on it, and he has amassed this enormous collection that is open to the public, and they can come in. I think it's open to the public. They can come in, they can see things, or he gives tours of not only super mass produced Star Wars memorabilia, but also really obscure, ultra rare stuff that is impossible to find. And it started as one guy trying to collect all of this stuff to keep it from just completely disappearing. And we're going to have to see that same sort of thing, I think, in the video game space.
Yeah. We need one ultra rich dude to just throw a bunch of money at the problem, build a warehouse on a piece of land that can easily be expanded.
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know, charge admission. Like I know the video game museum down in Dallas. I mean, it's an amazing accomplishment for what it is, but it is very centric to console gaming, and there's some arcade and computer representation, but it mainly focuses on the progression of console gaming over the years.
Yeah. So I think part of the problem with something like that's going to be is that games have gotten so big and they're available on so many things that it's going to be incredibly difficult to be able to preserve, especially in like the mobile space. If you want to keep any of that stuff, that's going to be a nearly impossible task, I think.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mm,
we could even dig back to before the iPhone was the prominent. I mean, we had. Do you guys remember iPod games? Like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, Harmonix made an iPod game called Phase that was I want to say a precursor to Audio Surf. Like you,
Yeah, I played it.
yeah. I mean, weird stuff like that that I don't even think you can buy those anymore because that stuff just doesn't appear on the iTunes store, and it exists on these devices that you can't even just go out and buy outside of finding it in a vintage stock. It just what happens to this? It just disappears. It becomes a wisp of a memory that gets brought up once in a decade. You know, it.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's something I'd really love to have like a really deep discussion with a lot of people who are trying to preserve this stuff. That may be something we need to try to do for a show special in the future. Um, because I think it's something a lot of people are starting to really get interested in and um, are try to be aware of that kind of thing. So, do you guys have any more thoughts on that before we move on?
If
not really.
anybody has any suggestions for something intelligent and useful to do with two drop mix demo units, give me a call. Shoot me an email. I want it to be put. I want them to be put to good use and not end up in the trash.
Ethan, I think you live in a place with lots of space, so you get on that preservation thing. You're going to be the one that spearheads this whole thing.
I'll think about it.
And it can't just be a Destiny museum.
I gotta fund it somehow.
Oh, okay. That's true.
You just don't know which one I'm trying to fund now.
That's true. I don't. Hmm. Okay. Well, let's take a quick break. We will come back and we will very quickly talk about the news that happened this week. All right, Ethan, I think you're in charge of the news this week. So, what do you got for us?
Starting off with some Destiny news.
You
Uh,
have funded that museum already.
yes, I called it Halloween, and it's just an event in the game itself.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Uh, Destiny's Festival of the Lost is returning on the 16th, so that'll be the day this episode goes out to everyone.
To everyone.
This is just the Halloween thing that they do every year. This is, I think, the first time they're doing it for Destiny 2, even though the game's been out for just over a year or whatever.
Yeah.
So they skipped last year, and I know on Destiny 1, they had two Halloweens, and the first Halloween, people kept a certain useless item that was then used because so many people kept it because they expected something. This time we're getting some new stuff. It's not just going to be mask and do a few things here and there.
Okay.
They're introducing a it's a new challenge. We'll go with that.
Okay.
The Infinite Forest from the Curse of Osiris DLC is coming back in this one, and its players have 15 minutes to get as far into the forest as they can. It's just that randomly generating forest thing,
Okay.
and the deeper in you get, the harder it will be. So that's going to be interesting, but I really just wanted to point out how adorable that little cat-eared ghost is. I mean, it's a cat. It's adorable. It's got whiskers, and the ears are just taped onto it.
That
And
sounds fantastic.
and it's really hard to top the Destiny 1 ghost that looked like a ghost for Halloween.
Was it just
It
like a
it was the Destiny ghost with a little sheet just draped over it.
okay. Yeah.
So is the ghost for the ghost.
And they've managed to top it this year.
Yeah, I mean, cat ears, come on.
Of course. Of course.
So,
So expect lots of Destiny talk from you for the next couple of weeks, is what you're saying.
yes.
Okay.
Let's see. Following that, we have Stardew Valley coming to iOS, and I did not put any information with that. This is why you don't leave
So
me
are
in
you going
charge
to
of the
be
news,
playing
Tony.
Are you going to be playing the game again on a different platform?
Right now, I only play it with Jason.
Okay.
Like, I don't even go on my own little personal game. Like, if I'm playing it, Jason won't play it without. I'm assuming Jason won't play it without me, considering
He's way past you.
considering how well Pepperidge Farm is doing. That's what we named it. Yes, if you've forgotten. And so we just hit winter on there. So, but yeah, it's coming to iOS. I'm curious how well that's going to control and play. And I am very tempted to get it, but I won't. But other people might. So there's an alternative.
What if you can take Pepperidge Farm with you on your phone?
I didn't consider that.
See? I've got you thinking now.
Indeed.
So do we know when this is supposed to be out?
Let me find the link again so I can try to find out.
I'm assuming it'll probably be like tap controls, or it'll have a virtual joystick on the screen that you'll use to move the character around. You just tap on different things to.
I do recall the item menu bar was on the side instead of the bottom or the top.
Okay.
I'm trying to find it real quick.
That seems pretty standard for a lot of iOS games, though. To get as much stuff off, like the bottom part of the screen where your fingers normally want to go, you move all of those interactive elements over to the sides so you don't accidentally touch them and things like that. So.
What? Where is this news? There it is, finally. It's coming out for $8. It'll be out this month on iPhone and iPad. On the 24th.
Okay.
Android version will be at a later date.
At a later date, okay.
Yes, and players can existing players can transfer their PC save data.
There you go.
Cool.
Pepperidge Farm mobile. Jason, think about it. Don't think about it. Let's just play PC.
Or Switch. Man, I need to get that game. I really need to get that game.
Let's see. In other news, we have Sony is allowing PSN IDs to be changed finally.
Man, Sony is just like flip-flopping on all of their previous policies, it seems like. Like Sony is trying to be a completely different company now. They I guess they did so well with the crossplay on Fortnite. They're like, fine, everybody wants to be able to change their PSN name, whatever. Just have fun.
So it seems like there's some very odd terms with this.
Such as?
Well, first of all, it's your first change is free. Subsequent changes will cost $10 or $5 if you're a PlayStation Plus subscriber. So,
yeah.
First and foremost, I'm glad that they're providing a discount. As someone who did change their Xbox Live, what's it called, gamer tag?
Yeah.
When I bought my Xbox One, I actually did update my gamer tag. It was a bummer to have to pay $10 for that. Considering it was the one and only time I ever did it, it would have been nice to just have the option for my first one to be free or for it to be discounted if I was an Xbox Live subscriber.
I think they offered me a free one not that long ago.
Okay, I didn't get that offer.
I'm
but
sorry.
It would have been cool.
I didn't mean to rub salt in your wound there.
It's okay. But it seems like it's not going to work with most PS3 games and a percentage of PS4 games.
It's really weird what they've said because they have confirmed that it won't work for every game, so it's not like tied to the system specifically, so that any game that you play on the system will have that ID. There will be some games that use your old PSN ID, and there may not be a way to change that.
That's fine with me. I mean, I can see that being a problem for other people, though.
I I'm just wondering what it's gonna do. Like, is it gonna show your old name? Is it going to? Are you gonna lose a percentage of your content because your name isn't there anymore? What kind
I
of
wouldn't.
crazy confusion is that gonna make?
I would think it's just going to show your old ID.
But what if? Well, I guess they may not. They may not free up the old, like the forfeited names then, because that's one thing that I know for a fact Xbox does, because it makes you confirm that once you let off and change it, the name that you let go
Somebody
is
else could get.
somebody else could swipe it. So maybe names that are currently in existence are just, they're never ever ever going to be available.
Yeah, but most of those names are going to be things that 14-year-old
Okay.
guys thought were funny, and nobody's ever going to want them again unless you're another 14-year-old kid.
Okay, good point.
See, the elimination of the XX underscroll what name underscroll XX stuff.
Yeah. So, is the world really going to be sad because those names are still not available?
Probably not. I'm probably making a mountain out of a molehill, but it just, I don't know. We'll see.
So, but yeah, beginning early 2019, Sony will finally allow players to change their PSN ID.
Huzzah! Everybody at Beyond is this is the day. This is the day that I can't remember the dude's name. Greg
Miller.
Greg Miller. Yes, this is the day Greg Miller has dreamed of.
It's going to be a sad day for him because all of those names he highlighted during their podcasts it's going to be a mass change of every single person that was highlighted on that show. Their names are going to change at the same time.
It's okay.
I haven't
You
listened to
just
anything from Kinda Funny. I don't know if he still brings attention to the name changes.
So yeah, PSN name changes coming 2019. Get it while it's hot. Last piece of news I threw out here was just seemed more Halloween related. Corpse Party Blood Drive is probably coming to the Switch.
Really cool.
This was the third game in the series, and I think it was only released on third game in the series, and it was only released on the PlayStation Vita here in the U.S. And I'm hoping the Switch can run it better than the Vita did.
I bet it can.
Well, I mean, you turn the flashlight on, the whole game just takes a dip in frames.
I mean, flashlights are powerful objects. So,
It helps to keep the bad things away, I guess.
also for anybody, I guess Luigi's Mansion is out on 3DS as well for anybody that wants to play the perfect Halloween themed game.
That works too.
I'm very glad that they added 3D functionality and didn't just go, it's not playable in 3D.
I fully expect them to do the it's not playable in 3D thing.
I picked this game up. It arrived in the mail today, so I'm looking forward to playing it in the coming weeks.
Well, you play it on the 3DS, I'll play it on the GameCube, and we'll play the same game at the same time.
Sounds good.
Because I'm not going to play it on 3DS.
You're Probably missing out, but that's okay.
No, I don't know that I am.
What you do is you steal his 3DS and download it on there when he's not looking.
You know what? It's been a while since we street passed, Tony.
That's true, but as long as you use your credit card information to put that game on my 3DS, we're fine.
I don't know, Tony. Do you save your payment information to your 3DS?
I will
answer
not
that.
answer that question on the show. But if some mysterious charge for $29.99 plus tax shows up on my, or is it $39.99 plus tax? I don't know. Shows up on my bank statement. First of all, it would probably take me to the negative. That would be bad. And then I'd have to just not play the game out of spite.
You not play a Luigi game? What do you take me for, sir?
Oh, and I am super excited for 3, though, next year. I'll be playing the heck out of that at Halloween. So, I need to play Luigi's Mansion 2 again.
No, you don't.
Yeah, I kind of do. It's been a while. I didn't like it as much as the first game, but I would be willing to play through that game again.
It's fun.
It is fun. And the multiplayer, I really had a lot of fun with.
Yeah, we played that over at Shelby's house with your son.
Yep, that was a lot of fun. So, but that I guess will be the show for this week, folks. So, thank you, Shannon, for being on the show this week,
It was a pleasure.
and thank you, Ethan.
Just don't leave me in charge of the news again.
Okay, deal. If you want to reach out to us, we have tons of new ways to do so. You can email us at podcast@procgent.com. That's PROCGENT.com. You can send us a voicemail if you want by clicking on the voicemail link on the right side of the website. You can send us voicemails up to 90 seconds in length, and we'll play those on future episodes of the show and respond to the questions that you have. If you like what we do here, you can now support us on Patreon, patreon.com/pgint. Patreon supporters will get a video version of the podcast a day early. These will normally go out on Tuesdays. Patreon supporters will get them on Monday. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/progenint. Check out our YouTube channel that we've got and see the content we've got going on up there. And then we still do have the Facebook group where you can interact with us on a daily basis as well.